All right, lights, camera, action. Let's go. Monday, not a great Monday. Miners were down, Bitcoin was down, markets were down as well. Obviously, the Japan carry trade is unwinding, basically, right? We talked about that yesterday a little bit with the was it the Treasury yields for Japan, the 2-year and the 10-year are spiking, right? That's causing obviously some pandemonium, a little bit of chaos in the markets. That's why we saw right when the futures opened up, Bitcoin and everything else was falling down at that point. Miners, like I said, were in the green except for one. IREN was actually in the green today, surprisingly. Miners, for the most part, fared pretty well compared to where Bitcoin was going down until the end of the day. And then at the end of the day, some of these guys actually went worse into the red here. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about, obviously, IREN putting out 2 press releases today. They're doing 2 convertible notes. One is to pay back some of the previous convertible notes. And the other one is obviously to fund operations and things like that. We'll take a look at that. There's actually some good news to that as well. Somebody did, somebody did a great write-up on that. We'll talk about that. So it's not all bad. What else do we have here? We got some good news on Bitcoin as well. That's going to be coming up here. And then we'll take a look at the miners as far as their MNAV, the ones that are actually still reporting their their Bitcoin holdings, right? Well, as far as we know, we'll talk about that. And we'll also take a look at the dilution that we've seen here over the last year on these guys, since we now have all of the latest data on the quarterly results, except for Kango. Kango just came in today. We'll cover Kango probably in tomorrow's live stream as far as their quarterly results at that point. Okay, so let's get into it here. We got quite a few things to go over. As always, not financial advice for time only. Do your own research. Full disclosure below that. Hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out as always. And let's take a look at Bitcoin here and the markets overall today. Bitcoin's actually up a little bit here, almost 1% on the new day. We were down today 4.52%. We were almost like at 6% down during the day. We got to a low of 83,800 at that point. We bounced back and we closed at 86,282. So there was a nice bounce there. So maybe that's the last of it. Time will tell. Right? Was this the last kind of drawdown here on Bitcoin price potentially before we go up higher? We don't know. Right, but Bitcoin is definitely testing my conviction here and having an extended cycle. As long as we stay above the 80,000 mark here, I think we'll be okay with an extended cycle. If we fall below that, and like some people are calling for 65,000 in Bitcoin, like if that's the case, then we're basically in a bear market at that point, right? Because we're going to be more than 35% down from the top there. It's basically going to be close to 50% being down. Bitcoin got to 127,000, I think it was 126,000 at the peak. So yeah, being down to 65,000 would be basically like 45-50% down. That's basically market territory on Bitcoin. So as long as we hold above 80,000, I think we're going to be okay on it. But it is, like I said, testing my patience there. And we had a great conversation on the Bitcoin mining space on X, right? With the I'm drawing a blank on the company name right now. You guys know what I'm talking about. Matt's the host there, Angie's there, Doug also, Hardwick. And then we had also Matt join in. Other people have also joined in as well. Great conversation there. That was going a little bit long. That's why we're having a kind of late conversation here right now as it is. That, and I need to take a shower, refresh, look pretty for you guys. All right, but here's what we got. Bitcoin markets, everything was down today. For the most part, NASDAQ was down a little bit. It was down 0.38%. Fared the best out of them all, it seems like. Dow Jones was down 0.9%. S&P was down 0.53%. Russell was down 1.26% there. Ethereum here today was also down quite a bit here. Was down 6.47% on the day, but bounced as well, and we're in the green right now for that. We do have some good news stories on the Fed. We'll talk about that here in a second, but miners here. Bitfarms ended up being down 5.75% on the day. Bitdeer was down 3.43%. Kango was down 3.33%. Cypher was down 3.24%. Cleanspark was down 6.75%. It fell towards the end of the day. It was actually doing pretty good here. It was actually like down only 1.5%, 2.5%, something like that for most of the day. And then towards the closing hours of the trading day, it decided to go south on us. CORZ was down 1.78%. Hive was down 6.25%. Hut 8 was down 3.18%. And IREN squeaked out a green day here. It was up 1.42%, but after hours, it got red because of the convertible notes. We'll talk about that in a second. Mara was down 2.46%. Riot was down 4.03%. Wolf was down 1.35%. All of the Bitcoin holding companies here were down in the red except for GameStop. Was up a little bit here, but MicroStrategy bounced back up from where it was. Right, it got to a low of $155 there. This thing since last year has not done very well here, right? The high was $543. We're down to 171%, $171. As far as performance-wise, percentage-wise, it went down all the way 71, almost 71% roughly. That is a huge decline even compared to Bitcoin. Bitcoin's not even down that much on now. And so MicroStrategy is definitely not getting love there. Galaxy was down 6.94% on the day. Block was down 3.67. Coin was down 4.76. Metaplan was down 3.68. Exodus was down quite a bit there, 10.41%. Nexon was down 0.05%. This thing is still holding really well here out of all of these guys. It's actually been going up here while everything else has been kind of falling on it, which is surprising. Similar was down 9.07%. Phoenix was down 6.16%. And GameStop, like I said, was up 1.15%. Small miners were all in the red there, 10%, 8, almost 5%, 9, 8, 6%. BitQ, or the miner ETFs here, were all in the red, 2.3%, 4.24 for BKCH. DAP was down 4.38. WGMI was down 2.42. Ethereum holding companies were all in the red also. BMNR was down 12.62%. Bit Digital looks like it fared the best here, was only down 5.46%. BTCS was down 6.92%. Game was down 12.64%. SBET was down 9.6%. And then some of the other things that we track here, American Bitcoin was down huge today. It was down 15.57%. Wi-Fi was down 8.17%. Open was down 7.27%. Oracle was down just a little bit, 0.5% basically. Nibius was up 5.57% there. Definitely bouncing a little bit there. Soluna was down 4.68%. Bakkt was down 12.18%. It had a nice run up here, but it's definitely taken a beating here. If you look at from where it was and where it went to, it was up basically 537%. And from the top here to the bottom there, it is down 72%. So definitely a huge spike here. This was when Mike Alfred bought obviously into it. Mike's still a strong proponent there. He's still on the board there. So yeah, we'll see how that one plays out. We've seen this also with another company that Mike was in, IREN, right? IREN had a huge run up, huge fall as well, and then eventually went and did a lot better here. So based on Mike's track record, I think this one's going to do pretty well also going forward here. It's just right now, I wouldn't say all, a lot of these plays are in pain mode right now. Going down here, what else do we have here? Meta was down 1.09%. Google was down 1.56%. Amazon was actually up 0.28%. Microsoft was down 1.07%. And then Nvidia was up 1.65% there. So a little bit mixed here on this board at least. As far as the miners here after hours right now, let's take a look at those, see how they are doing. Sorry for the bright screen here. Wait, what's going on here? Ad traffic. Oh, I don't care about ad traffic. I want to see. There we go. Finance.yahoo, BitDeer. There we go. All right, so BitDeer is up 1.08% here right now in after hours or pre-hours, whatever you want to call it. Bitfarms is up just a little bit, 0.3%. Kango, if you look at that one is up 2.76%. Cypher here is up 0.71%. Cleanspark is up 2.13%. CORZ Scientific right now at least. Let's see if it loads. Come on. There it is, up 0.42%. Hive Digital in the after hours is up 0.95%. Hut 8 is, let's see where that one comes in, 0.94%. So a little bit of a bounce on these guys here right now. IREN is down 4.56%. That's because of the convertible notes. And then Mara is up 1.3%. Riot is, let's see where that one's coming in at, 1.42%. And TeraWolf, last but not least, right now is up 0.59% on the day. Bitcoin for the month of December, down 4.33%, adding on to the losses that we've had here for fourth quarter right now. In Bitcoin, we're down 24%. This is the second worst performing quarter that we've had in the last 12 plus years or so. Not a great quarter for us right now. All right, Bitcoin ETF inflows here into the ETFs. Here, if we look at this, we can see that we've been up at least the last couple of days, 21 million, 71 million, 74 million without IBIT reporting here. We'll see where that comes in, but we've had some positive inflows happening there. The Fed Watch tool here, we are at 87.2% in favor of obviously getting a rate cut happening in December. So that's a good sign. If you recall, going back just a week and a half ago, we were down to like 20 some percent, almost 30% in favor of that obviously happening there. So it looks like we are going to be getting a rate cut here happening this month. And then some of the good news stories that we do have here, right? Okay, I don't care about that. from the Bitcoin historian breaking 9.3 trillion, Vanguard just said it will let clients start trading Bitcoin tomorrow. Another big bank bends the knee to Bitcoin. Right? Was all this kind of planned for this to bring the price of Bitcoin down so they can trade it more? I think there's a lot of manipulation happening in the markets here on Bitcoin, to be honest with you guys. So that maybe that's part of it, but this is good news that obviously adds a lot more people onto Bitcoin here. And then breaking, obviously, the Fed to officially end quantitative tightening tonight at 11:59 p.m. Eastern time. Bullish news for the markets. That's going to be very good news there. So maybe this played into, obviously, the kind of bear day that we had today. And then we do bounce from here. Possibly we'll obviously see tomorrow how that plays out. And then we got this here from the Wolf of All Streets. Abundantly clear that MicroStrategy is glaring buy at the current price with a long-term view. If it drops, buy more. And then he's replying to the Kobesi letter there. This is absolutely insane. MicroStrategy's market cap is now worth $10 billion less than their Bitcoin holdings. That is crazy. And you can see here, right? So the market doesn't make any sense, right? I mean, you're basically discounting them $10 billion on only the Bitcoin that they have there. So eventually this thing will bounce. And like we saw, we reached a new low here recently on MicroStrategy as well. So I think eventually this thing will go back up. It's just a matter of time here. But yeah, this is definitely crazy in my opinion. It should be at least, in my little opinion here, it should be at least like a 1 MNAV at the very least. And then if you think Bitcoin's going to go up much higher, we could possibly see higher. I would say 1.1, 1.2 MNAV would be appropriate. But we have definitely seen that much higher as well. Like last year when it got to $540 per share price, the MNAV was, I think it was like above 3 at that point or something like that. So that got a little too overheated at that point. All right. Last but not least, here we're going to talk about, IREN and their convertible notes. This is a standard template for these things, right? So they're doing one proposed convertible note offering, which is for $1 billion right now. It says here, billion aggregate principal amount of convertible senior notes due 2033. In a private offering, obviously, then they also are offering up to 150 million additional 2032 notes and 150 for the 2033 notes. So I think it's the 2032 notes, which is this proposal here. IREN announces proposed offering of ordinary shares to fund the repurchase of convertible notes. These are the ones that they issued before. And that's also 1 billion there plus 150 million on top of it. And it's the standard things that we talked about here when convertible notes are happening here. I did find somebody that laid it out relatively nicely here for us here, so we're going to go over this. This is from Investing at dollar cost average there. Loving the IREN team, always looking out for shareholders. This is an explanation for noobs. I'm a noob. I consider myself a noob. Why is it important to kill the old converts and how it benefits shareholders, right? That's kind of the question that I had when I saw this. Like, why are they doing this? He lays it out pretty well here, actually quite nicely. So I thought we would just kind of go over this. Why buying back old converts is good. Explained simple. A convertible note is a debt that can turn into shares later. Think of it like this. IREN borrowed money, right, from previous convertible notes, but instead of only paying it back with cash, the lender is allowed to convert that debt into stock at a certain price. That certain price is called the conversion price, right, which we talked about it last year when they were doing these things as well. So example, IREN numbers here, 1364, right, was one conversion price, and 1630 or 1681 was the other one. So if the stock goes above those levels, the note holders can convert into shares. Low conversion price equals bad for shareholders. If IREN goes to 80, 100, 150, the old note holders could convert at $13 and $16, meaning more dilution at that point, right? So if you can redo those convertible notes at a much higher price, you're basically not diluting as much at that point. So that means a ton of new shares get created, your percentage ownership becomes smaller, your upside gets diluted. This is like splitting a pizza into more slices. Your slice becomes smaller. When buying back old converts removes that dilution. When IREN buys back or retires the old notes, those low conversion rights disappear. No more $13 to $16 strikes. No more automatic dilution at low levels. This protects shareholders, which I agree. This is a great way to do it. If you're going to do it, obviously stock has done phenomenally well here. Number 4, they replace the old notes with new notes, ones that convert much later. The new notes mature in 2032 and 2033 as well. Will have much higher conversion price, far above $13 and $16. Spread dilution over many years, not right now. So this is good. This means IREN only gives out shares at a much higher stock price later on. Shareholders keep more upside now, which is great. And it's basically refinancing bad debt into better debt. Buying back old converts equals removing bad terms. New 20, 32, and 33 notes equals better terms that don't hurt shareholders early. It's like refinancing a loan, lower pressure, longer runway, better structure. And I agree there. Why this is done before major growth. If a company expects big revenue, megawatt expansion, new contracts, stronger balance sheet, they clean up the old debt now so it doesn't dilute them right when they're about to grow. It's smart, bullish, proactive move, and I agree with that as well. So, I mean, fantastic job by investing, dollar cost averaging. This is basically what everybody needs to just look at and see what's going on here. It lays it out very well. Easy to understand because a lot of times with these press releases, it's a lot of legalese and stuff like that for the SEC and things like that, which would be nice to go, here's what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. And there you go, right? So a lot of the noobs understand, or just, I wouldn't say even noobs, I would just say just regular investors, right? Regular investors are not well versed in how these convertible notes work and everything else like that. This is a great explanation there. So this definitely helps out. So again, IREN is right now still king, queen, whatever you want to call it, in the AI space for the Bitcoin AI miners as well. They are obviously valued the most right now out of the bunch, but that's because they have also done a fantastic job of growing not only their hash rate for Bitcoin mining, but also growing their own Neo Cloud, and now obviously getting into a deal with Microsoft there. And they're progressing forward. They have a lot of megawatts, so I do like this deal here as well. So this is good news. I'm a long-term, well, yeah, they could say long-term now, I guess. I've held on to IREN now for almost a year and a half from when I got into them last year. I'm continuing to hold here, and I think the better days are still yet ahead of us here going forward. All right, so this is great news. Let's get into some of the data that we do have on the miners here. We're going to take a look at the MNEV on some of these guys, and along with their dilution here over the last year, from Q3 of last year to Q3 of this year. But here's what we have. Miners markets to net asset value, MNEV. Here's what we have. So we look at BitDeer, Cypher, Cleanspark, Core, Hive, Marathon, and Riot. Hive is questionable. I think I have the latest data on them. Correct me if I have any data that's wrong here. I'm trying to pull all this data in from their quarterly results here. So correct me if I got anything wrong. Okay, but I think everything here is pretty much accurate as it is. All right, share prices are obviously as of today here, right now as it is. We look at number of shares that they reported at the end of the quarterly results. At that point, market cap, what is their current market cap right now? HODL, how much did they HODL? I think this is as of currently what they're HODLing right now. Yeah, Bitcoin HODL is what their current number is. HODL value currently as well, based on Bitcoin price, market cap to HODL. We're looking at, what is that multiple there? And you can see that here. And a lot of these guys, even currently, you can see BitDeer's getting a 14 multiple, Cypher's getting a 16 multiple, Cleanspark's getting a 3.2, Core is getting a 49 multiple, Hive 14.8, Marathon under 1, which is not great there, right? So definitely undervalued. And Riot is getting a 3.45 multiple. Then we also take into consideration the total assets, Bitcoin HODL now, what's that valued at again? Total liabilities, net assets minus HODL. And current assets with HODL there, and we're getting the MNEV at that point. So BitDeer's got a 2.7 there. Cypher's got a 9.93. Cleanspark's got a 1.65. Core's got a negative because of all the convertible notes and warrants that they have there. Hive is at 1.19, and Marathon is at 0.84 MNEV, followed by Riot at 1.72%. So, I mean, Cypher is obviously not being valued on their MNEV. They're being valued on their AI potential. Going forward, the deals that they have with Google, FluidStack, and now also Amazon as well, right? So that's all playing into it. That's why they're getting so much higher of a value there. BitDeer is definitely getting a premium there as well compared to some of these other guys here. But Marathon is definitely way, way under from where they probably should be. They should be at least at a 1 MNAV. So this definitely tells me that the stock is definitely undervalued here, and it probably should bounce here in due course. I don't know exactly when, but you would think that would be above it, right? So it's this kind of same thing that we're seeing with Strategy, right? Strategy, the MNAV below that is below 1, I think, right now, right? If they're being valued 10 billion less from what they actually own in Bitcoin, that would give me less than 1 MNAV right now. So it seems like the ones that have the biggest HODL are getting kind of punished right now for it. Right? Is the market trying to get them to sell? Maybe. I don't know. Right? We don't know. But there's there's the MNAV value for these guys right now. Next, we're going to take a look at here really quick and get into Q&A here is dilution. So pulled in all the data on these guys as well. What were the Q3 of 2024 shares amount, latest shares of what they reported in Q3 of 2025? How much was their dilution percentage? We looked at also current Q3 hash rate of 2024 and the current hash rate right now as of the end of Q3 2025. What is that difference? How much did they grow? How much dilution do we get per petahash at that point? Then we also look at the revenues from Q3 to current revenues for Q3 of 2025. What is that difference and how much does that actually translate into per diluted share revenue increase, more or less, at that point? Okay, so we'll kind of go through that here right now. So shares diluted, Cleanspark diluted actually the least. They actually bought back shares. So they have actually 15 million shares left, less than here right now. Hut 8 only increased shares by about 14.4 million over the year. Core 30 million, TerraWolf 32 million, Riot 39 million, Cypher 47, Marathon 56, BitDeer 64, IREN 85 million, Hive 107 million, Bitfarms 149 million. Right, these guys, Hive, Bitfarms, were very much lower priced than a lot of these guys above there. So that's why we're seeing definitely more dilution happening there because they had to dilute more in order to get close to the same amount to actually get less than what some of these other guys did. Okay, percentage of dilution, Cleanspark went down 5.65%, TerraWolf up just 8.49%, Core up 11%, along with Riot almost 12% there, Cypher up 13.6%, Hut 8 up 15.45%, Marathon up 17.51%, Bitfarms up 33%, IREN 43%, BitDeer 45%, and Hive 83% dilution. That's costly there, but they obviously had really good growth here in the last year as far as hash rate growth, right? So that definitely helped out them as well. And you can see as far as hash rate growth here, IREN almost got 29 exahash additional in the year, followed by BitDeer 26, then Marathon 23, and Cleanspark at 22 exahash. And you got Hut 8 with 19, Hive with 16, Cypher with 12, Riot with 7.3, Bitfarms with 3.5 roughly. TerraWolf is actually down, it looks like, 1.5 exahash, along with Core being down almost 2.9 exahash, if not maybe even more than that on that one. And then here's the shares per petahash. TerraWolf and Core are actually negative, along with Cleanspark. Core, I think it's just because their amount of hash rate went down. TerraWolf, same thing with their hash rate. But Cleanspark was actually negative because of the number of shares going down for them. Okay, so that's the way it plays out there. Hut 749 shares per petahash increase. Marathon 2,400, BitDeer 2,454, IREN 2,942, Cypher 3,733, Riot 5,408, Hive 6,713, and Bitfarms 42,688. And again, these two, Hive and Bitfarms, right, were very, very low priced. Where, you know, if they wanted to get $50 million in ATM, was basically 50 million in shares. Where some of these other guys, for them to get 50 million, it was like 10 million in shares. So there's that difference that you're seeing there. As far as per diluted share revenue increase, more or less, Cleanspark 877 based on the revenues increases and number of shares being decreased and things like that. Hut 8 came in second at 443, Riot 236, IREN 209, Marathon 205, BitDeer $1.53, Cypher $1, Hive 60 cents, TerraWolf 51 cents, Bitfarm 16 cents, and Core was actually negative at that point. So that's kind of what you got for it. And going forward, I'm probably going to include as well megawatts in here. What do we get for megawatts going forward? Because a lot of these guys are going into HPC AI, things of that nature. So I think that's going to be more important here than where their hash rate is. I think a lot of these guys will still stick around and do Bitcoin mining, but it is going to be possibly a smaller percentage than we have seen in the past, especially when they start getting these deals for HPC AI, like we're seeing with Cypher, Wolf, IREN as well, and others. All right, so that's it. That's the update on dilution there, along with MNAV. Let's get into Q&A here, and we'll call it a day. And we're going pretty nice and briskly here, which is nice. Okay, let's get into Q&A. Always, spreadsheets will be available to my Patreon members later on tomorrow. I do apologize I didn't get them out to you guys tonight or today. Just a busy day overall. But I will get that out to you guys tomorrow. So link for that is down in the description if you want to join. Help me out, what I do, and help support the channel here. Really appreciate everyone there. And let's get into Q&A. All right. What is everybody thinking here? Is the bottom in Bitcoin, or are we done for here? Okay, as always, questions, if you can preface those with a question mark, I would appreciate it. We'll work our way up and work our way down as well. Sour Melon here. Tom Lee bought Ethereum at highs and now down 5 billion, and Sailor bought highs and now about to go red. On his position, Treasury business models are ridiculously stupid. They've definitely, well, I think the mentality on those has changed, because if you look back last year, MicroStrategy was outperforming the miners, was outperforming Bitcoin, everything. But in the last year, basically from where we were in November, things have definitely changed here in that regard. I'm not sure why they changed. It might be people have more on-ramps into Bitcoin. Maybe that's the reason why. And you no longer need these type of treasury companies to get access to Bitcoin exposure there. Maybe that's part of it as well. Okay. Let's see here. Dan says, Mara to the moon. Like I already commented to Dan there. I basically just said, hopefully for the sake of shareholders, it does go up nicely here. John Chris says, IREN is king. I'll add to this long-term hold. Let's see what else we got here. All right. Pete says, hi, Seba, never a dull day in the mining world. It's never a dull moment. Yeah, there's always something going on. Let's see. Ellie Messer says to Sour, MicroStrategy has cash. Yeah, they diluted to get the cash, so I think they have close to, 1.8 billion or something like that, almost 2 billion to pay the dividends that they need to pay probably over the next 2 years. Let's see here. Pete, question. I don't remember being so stuck between desire to buy and sell at the same time. Does that mean we are scraping the bottom? Possibly. I mean, it is. It's just, it's been a rough ride here the last couple of weeks, right? We know that it hasn't been great. Let's see. Sour says, several exchanges coordinated an attack and sold BTC yesterday. I saw that as well. We had Binance. I think Coinbase was part of it as well. Others in that. Yeah, I saw that. I saw those outflows in Bitcoin happening there as well. Greg says, oh, if it gets down to 65,000, I'll buy back with both hands. If it gets down to 65,000, you might be actually getting it at a lower price at that point too. If we get to 65,000, I think we're in a bear market at that point, and we could possibly go lower. We could possibly go down into like the high 40s. So you might be able to get Bitcoin at those prices if we go down there, if this price is not held up. Greg, what do you think of the circular deals announced today, the NVIDIA deal? To be honest, I didn't see it. I must have missed it, but we've seen this already in quite a few times happen, right? What was it? I think it was with CoreWeave. NVIDIA invested in CoreWeave. CoreWeave obviously buys a lot of NVIDIA chips. Then we saw it with, who else? Nibius there. Palantir is another one that comes to mind right now. There's a couple of those that have been happening here, where people are calling those circular deals. I think it's just NVIDIA has so much cash, they got to do something with it. I mean, they're generating so much revenue. They got to invest in other things. And I mean, what are you going to invest in? You're not going to invest in the dollar. I mean, dollar's been going down in value over the long term. So you could invest in Bitcoin. I think that'd be nice. But they're looking at the companies that have huge growth potential, and their investments could be worth a lot more going forward. I shouldn't say if. Well, maybe I should say if this whole AI race is as hot as people are saying it is, which I think it is. So maybe that's why they're doing it, for that reason. But all of these companies are still generating revenue, so I don't think it's nowhere near the bubble that we saw in 2000, right? With the .com bubble. Rob, why was IREN the only miner to be in the green here? It didn't perform that great last week. I think maybe that's the reason why it kind of bounced, but obviously the news coming out right now with the convertible notes, that always puts a tamper on the price appreciation of the stock for at least a day or two or three. And then it should go back up here once people kind of sort it all out and realize what's going on there. It should go back up, because I think this is actually pretty good for investors nonetheless. All right. Okay, talked about that already. Crap 80, Bitcoin back over 87 for now. Yeah. It's hovering right around there, so we'll definitely keep an eye and see how it does. Daryl, question. If you had extra capital, would you currently buy more Cleanspark or IREN? So I bought more Cleanspark a week and a half ago, right? Last Friday when we kind of bottomed out on Bitcoin, which was like a week and a half ago. At this point, I bought more Cleanspark and I bought more Bitfarms. My average price on IREN is so low right now that for me it doesn't make much sense for me to buy more into it with still the high price on it. I don't think it's high price. I think it should be valued higher, but it's much higher from where I'm at on the average side of things. And if I was to pull in, I put in $2,000 into combined into Bitfarms and Cleanspark, I could have gotten maybe 20 shares? No, not 20 shares. 200 shares of IREN, I think, at that point, right? Which would have been barely nothing compared to what I have currently on it as well. So that's kind of the way I look at it. It didn't really make much sense, where I think Cleanspark and Bitfarms were kind of beaten down more, where those have a little bit maybe more upside in the short term. I still think IREN could do a 3 to 4, maybe even 5x in the next year and a half or something like that. But these other guys might be able to do a little bit better than that. Maybe. Time will tell. Sadie, as always, thank you so much for the smile emoji, clappy hands, and the wine there. Crabbeady Cleanspark. Let's see, Rob, is it true that Madonna is buying? That I don't know. Sadie, thank you so much for the likes reminder there. Crabbeady, how many pure play BTC miners are left? Has anyone converted to a? Has everyone? Pretty much. The only pure play miners might be left that I know of right now are like some of the smaller ones. We're talking about like Sphere 3D, if they even make it through the next year here. What's another one there? I think, Mawson, I think, has gotten into some AI as well. Sphere 3D, who's the other one there that I was thinking of as well? There's a couple smaller ones that maybe don't have the capital to go into this space. We'll see. Okay, Daryl says, appreciate all the info as usual. Thanks again, Sub. You're very welcome. Thanks for coming in. OP Magic, what's your take on Digihost? Digihost, small miner, right? Small market cap as well. I don't know. Let's take a look at them here really quick. I haven't looked at them in a while because were small and they're going to stay small. I'm not sure how they're growing right now. Let me see, small miners, where are they at? Digihost. So it's no longer Digihost. It's now called DigiPower, right? That one has been doing pretty good here recently as far as from the bottom. If we look at the chart at least wise, let's see, browser. Look at from where it bottomed out. I think this is back in April. It went up 686%. It's still up roughly 357%. It's definitely come back down from the high here a little bit. But they also partnered with a small modular reactor company, I believe, to do a test site. That's kind of interesting there on itself. And they've been going towards AI as well, I believe. So I would need to do more research on them to really tell you what I think of them. But they are obviously smaller. What is their market cap right now? I know they were like sub 100 million, I believe, financials. Market cap, okay, 254 million now, so that's definitely improved. They were sub 100 million at one point, so that helps out a little bit, but again, right, not much. Let's see, statements. What is their cash statistics, dividends, earnings, revenue statements? Just want to see total assets, 51 million, right? Not a lot of assets there, 51 million. Total liability, 7 million, so that's pretty good there. Total equity, 44 million. Yeah, that's balance sheet, income statement. Let's see, Q3, total revenue only 8 million, right? That makes it tough. That definitely makes it tough to do anything major in AI. You're going to need backing from somebody else, or you're going to have to dilute like crazy, or do convertible notes that are not as favorable, maybe. So I would have to do more research on them. But just looking at this, that kind of looks a little troublesome to me. All right, let's go back here. Okay. All right. PInvest asks, are you buying the dip on IREN after hours, or would you if you had the cash? If I had the cash, and look, I love IREN. It's done a fantastic job for me. I'm still up 500% on this thing, right? Even with the pullback that we've seen here recently. So if I haven't gotten into it before, I would definitely be getting into it right now on the pullback on this one. because I think that still it can easily do a 2 to 3x, maybe even more than that as well. So for that reason, I would be buying if I didn't have a position in it. But I have such a much lower position in it right now that I'm kind of just holding on to it for the time being, right? If it falls more, if it gets down to like, knock on wood that it does, but if it does fall even more to in the 20s or something like that, that's when I'd be buying, backing up the truck and buying at that point. Okay, Carl, I don't know which way BTC will go, so I'm only doing short-term trades, buying dips, selling pops. Okay, that's definitely a way to do it there. All right, P Invest, would you sell Cleanspark for IREN, or do you think in short-term Cleanspark has more upside? Last week, Cleanspark obviously did better than IREN did. IREN was kind of towards the end of the peer group there as far as performance for last week. Like I said, I love IREN and I definitely love Cleanspark still. I think Cleanspark definitely has some potential there going forward. Would I sell Cleanspark to buy IREN? If I wasn't in it already, then I possibly did, because I did do that in the past. So when was it? Last year? Last year was June, I think it was. I sold some Cleanspark shares to buy into IREN at that point. And I did it again later on that year. I sold, I believe, Cleanspark and IREN, and I bought into Cypher as well. So I have done that in the past, depending on where, obviously, the prices were much lower at that point. But I have done that just to kind of rebalance, and if I saw a good opportunity on some of these guys. Okay. Question, in your opinion, what's the best current value amongst Bitcoin miners as far as value? I think there's a lot of value among these companies right now as it is. IREN, Cypher, Bitfarms, Hive, Cleanspark, I would even say Mara at this point, because it's just so undervalued from where it should be. I think there's a lot of value at the current levels with all these guys. Which one is the best there? That's hard to say, right? It will depend on the market itself. How does the market go forward? Does Bitcoin actually rally from here? What else? Do they get more contracts, more deals, things like that? That's going to propel those things. So, I mean, we're always, like I always said before, we're always just a one good news story away from any of these things and popping like crazy. We saw that this year alone, right? The deals that come out and the things bounce like crazy here. So, I think there's a lot of good deals here. The ones that are most undervalued, I think, are still possibly Bitfarms, Cleanspark, Cypher to a certain extent, and I would say even definitely Mara there as well right now. That doesn't mean that the other ones are properly valued. I think that they're a little bit better valued, but they still have, I think, a lot of potential to go upside as well. Okay, I talked about that one. P-Invest, why was NVIDIA up, but data center companies were mostly... I don't know. Yeah, that was a little bit surprising to me. Thoughts on IREN dilution. Talked about that in the beginning of the show, or not at the beginning, but talked about it in the middle of the show. We talked about that. It's actually pretty good, right? They get rid of those convertible notes that were that could have gotten exercised between $13 and $16. They pay that off, and then they basically move that needle up to where that dilution could possibly happen there. So that's a good thing overall. PVS says, think about this. IREN didn't do well last couple of days while other miners ran up, and dilution happens a few days after. Coincidence? That might be it, right? Maybe they were talking to people and people knew about it, and the stock didn't do that well. Okay. P-Invest, are we green tomorrow? Let's hope. That would be great there. OP Magic, thank you for your analysis. You're very welcome. Thanks for coming in. P-Invest, I have 10,000 Cleanspark and 3,000 IREN. I'm thinking about sell all Cleanspark for IREN. Thoughts? I think you have both. IREN is a monopoly and 100 billion company in a few years. I think it could be actually higher than that even. But yeah, as far as, I do own both of them, as you guys know. I got into Cleanspark first. I almost got into IREN back in 2023, or was it 2022? I can't remember now. 2022. Almost got into IREN at 2022 as well, but they had special purpose vehicles that they were using to secure that wasn't really secure, it was unsecured, basically loans for their ASICs that they were getting at that point. And they had to give back like 3.5 exahash at the time, which was a lot. That was like 75-80% of their hash rate that they had at that time. So at that time, I took a pause on them just to see how they do going forward. And definitely kept an eye on them going forward to see how they do. And they once I saw that they were getting to 10 exahash, 20 exahash, 30 exahash, as the guys were improving there, I'm like, okay, they're doing much better here. They're doing all the right things. This is the time that I want to get into them. And I did get into them last year. I think it was right around June, with the stock being at $5 and like $6 at that point. Somewhere around there, between $5 and $8 is where I got into it. So as far as would I sell Cleanspark, I did sell Cleanspark in order to buy into IREN. I did it then. Would I do it now though? So you have to look at it this way. Do you think Cleanspark can do multiples X better as far as appreciation is in the next, I would say, year to 2 years maybe, right? Or do you think IREN can do that better? If you think IREN can do that better, then maybe that's the way you go. But that's going to be definitely on your shoulders, on your decision to make. I can't make that for you there, but I can only tell you what I've done in the past. All right. Rick Wong, is Cleanspark using the latest convert to buy back the previous convert like what IREN did? No, not that I'm aware of. They used it to buy back shares and for corporate purposes as well, right? Data center build-outs and things like that. All right. Okay. I think we're all caught up here. We're going to call it a day. Where are we at? 45 minutes almost going in. I think we're going to call it a day. Yeah, we'll see what happens tomorrow. I mean, Bitcoin's right now at 87,000. Right. Was this just the last attempt to shake people out of Bitcoins, shake some of the leverage out? Maybe. Time will tell on that. We'll see later on this week if that plays out on it. But I would expect IREN to be in the red tomorrow. Possibly. If it does bounce back, that's a good sign. That means that investors and institutions are buying into, obviously, the convertible notes and their strategy there. So that would be a good sign there. And we'll see, obviously, how everything else does. And we'll cover whatever else happens with the miners, any monthly production updates that we get, or we still have to look at the comparison on the miners for their quarterly results, which can go obviously reported today. That helps us out. We'll get all that data, and then we'll work on that throughout the later on in the week. All right. So I greatly appreciate you guys here, and love you all. Hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Yeah, and Mr. X, thanks, Sebastian. Let's hope for better days ahead in December. We need those better days for sure. It's been a rough, 4, 5, 6 weeks or so. But that's it. Love you all. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.